In an earlier video, I was explaining the political basis for Brexit, the vote by the UK to leave the European Union, and I just wanted to draw some parallels with the existing situation in America. Now, Britain and America are different countries, they have different histories, they have different political systems, so the situation is not completely analogous, but the same factors that are driving Brexit, I believe, are the ones that are also affecting the current American election cycle. I said before that the problem with Britain is that we've had this long period of consensus politics. America really has the opposite problem. Two main parties, the Democrats and the Republicans, are moving away from each other very, very rapidly. They are disagreeing with each other more. Whereas before, they pretty much agreed in much the same kind of things, just possibly different emphasis or different priorities. It's moved beyond that now. There are fundamental differences between the Democrat Party and the Republican Party in what they believe America actually is, what America was, and most importantly, of course, what they think it should become. In fact, I would go so far as to say I don't think America has been this politically divided since, well, certainly since the Depression, possibly even since the 1850s, which is a bit worrying because we all know how the 1850 argument ended up being settled. My contention, however, is it is still this anti-establishment feeling that's affecting it. One of the common objections made by the Republicans against President Barack Obama is that he hasn't really done very much over the last 8 years, which is probably quite true. However, as the Democrats point out, that's because Republican representatives in the House of Representatives and the Senate have consistently blocked him and prevented him from doing anything. Now, to a certain extent, this is how the American political system is supposed to work. You've got the presidency, House of Representatives, the Senate, all acting as checks and balances upon each other. And that's fair enough, but it does mean that any kind of progress has been glacially slow. And this has been affecting the actual perception of the political system by Americans. Belief in the political system is probably at an all-time low. The fact that people trust Congress or the media is declined considerably. And it's again this factor, the fact that everything just needs to be locked up. There have been growing signs that the public are becoming disillusioned with it all. The two most obvious of those, I suppose, are, first of all, the Occupy Wall Street movement, which is basically a bunch of natural Democrat voters who've decided that the Democrat Party is too closely tied to big business, which it is, and with the stock exchange, which it is, and that therefore it's not actually moving as fast as it should do, and they want change, real radical change, and the Democrat Party, they think, is dragging its heels. On the other side, of course, is the Tea Party movement, which is basically a bunch of natural Republican voters who think that the Republican Party has become too tied in with the Washington Beltway. It's become basically a Democrat light, that they've pretty much given way to the Democrats on all the definitions and all the talking points. And, you know, this horrible term rhino, Republican name only, is being bandied around a lot. Now, it seems that Occupy Wall Street and the Tea Party have been contained, but they are a foretaste of what is now currently active. If you think of the two of the candidates, Donald Trump for the Republicans and Bernie Sanders for the Democrats. Now, these two people are very different people. They've got very different upbringings. They have very different political ideas and how things should be done. But they do have one thing in common. They are both very definitely anti-establishment figures. The Democrat Party essentially nobbled Bernie Sanders so that Hillary Clinton could get the nomination. The Republican convention notoriously loathes Trump. It's only fairly recent that most of them even come out supporting him. They really loathe him. What is absolutely clear, whichever your political viewpoints are, and it cannot be denied this, that even 10 years ago, neither of those two would have got anywhere close to the presidency. And that's obviously true. They just know. But people are prepared to countenance them now because they are fighting against the establishment. And that is part of the trend that we've seen in Britain. It's part of a trend we've seen over most of the Western world. It's present in France, Germany to a certain extent, Holland, Denmark. We are seeing a rise of dissatisfaction with the status quo for different reasons, but definite dissatisfaction with the status quo. So when Nigel Farage went over to the Republican National Convention and told them all about Brexit, and then when he was invited to speak in Jackson, Mississippi, he said the parallels were clear, and he's right, they are. There are definite parallels. They're not absolutely the same, but there are definite parallels. A dissatisfaction with what has become a very smug political elite who really don't represent far too many people anymore. So the question we have to ask ourselves is this movement of anti-establishment feeling going to be enough to carry Donald Trump into the White House? I don't know. I really don't know. I think the election is going to be close. I think it's a lot closer than most people think. I think that whatever happens, people are going to be surprised. It's possible he could still win it. I don't know. But even if he doesn't, I think that this anti-establishment feeling is not going to go away. If Hillary Clinton wins, she is very much the corporate America candidate. It will be certainly perceived as that, and that means that 4 years down the line, there's going to be there's going to be another Donald Trump or Donald Trump-like challenger. Eventually, the establishment is going to, unless the establishment can actually make some serious changes to itself, then there is going to be another challenge like him. It's going to be very interesting to find out what happens. Anyway, that's all I have to say on the subject. Thank you very much for listening.